Activision lawsuit is interfered by the governor of California. Kingdom Hearts 4 and what it means. And is Zelda a sign of a new Nintendo console? Extra, hear all about it.
Hey guys, welcome to the place that wishes Bobby Kotick would fall down a well. I'm the Dean of Games, the Dean Slater if you're on Twitter or Twitch, and joining me today is the twitch.tv/LMJ the Hitman, Landen.
Oh, hello everybody. Welcome back to another wonderful week of gaming news. We tell you the good and the bad.
There's definitely some bad news this week. For sure. We're gonna get into it obviously, but I can't with Activision anymore, you know?
Yeah, it's a swamp. A swamp.
This is Extra, your weekly gaming news podcast covering the news leading up to Sunday, April 17th, 2022. And if you like us, you can go to patreon.com/thebriefingroom. Let's get to some news. Let's start with the Activision stuff, alright?
Get the bad out of the way.
Yeah, California governor conspires with Activision. And I just realized in one of my notes, I spelled California Clayfornia. I put the A before the F. Alright. Or, you know, the A, or I put the A after the L. And then it's. Anyway. The state of California is suing Activision Blizzard over the years for a toxic workplace and harassment of women, leading to one woman ending her life. I know that's kind of a Cliff Notes version, but it's been covered both by us and several other outlets. If you really don't know too much about it, do your research. Heads up, there's some really disturbing behavior. But I just don't want to always get into the nitty-gritty of it. So, the Chief Counsel of California's Department of Fair Employment and Housing, Jeanette Whipper, was fired by the governor. And her assistant, Melanie Proctor, resigned in protest. Both had stepped down from the lawsuit against Activision Blizzard earlier for unknown reasons.
No.
In an email last week, Proctor stated that Gavin Newsom, the governor, had gotten involved. And this is the quote. The office of the governor repeatedly demanded advance notice of litigation strategy and of next steps in the litigation. As we continue to win in state court, this interference increased, mimicking the interest of Activision's counsel. And then Whipper was fired for protecting the FDEH's independence. The DFEH versus Activision case is set for February 2023, but with new interference, it is unclear how these things could turn out. Landen, let's hear it from you.
Well, the thing is there's large amounts of money in video games, and where there are large amounts of money, there's corruption, and corruption is filled in this Activision company, it would seem. And I think Xbox might have not have known what they really got themselves into with acquiring Activision. I mean, I'm sure they're not happy about any of this just as much as we are.
Yeah.
But
So,
like I said, where there's large amounts of money, there's corruption. Whether politics are going to find their way in there. Looks like they have.
so I'm going to take some low shots just because,
Go for
again,
it.
I'm tired of this. First of all, Gavin, your last name, stupid. It's Newsom, but it's without the E at the end. It's
Stupid.
It's N-E-W-S-O-M. Why did you exclude the E? Do you think you're some sort of important person? You're just a filthy politician like the rest.
Yep.
Also, we know of Bobby Kotick being close with Jeffrey Epstein. Maybe we should take a look at Gavin Newsom's relationship with Epstein. Just saying.
It'd be worth looking into.
It's just... I realize money makes the world go round, everything like that. But it's just annoying
So upsetting.
seeing... Like, it was bad enough, like, I understood and I get it, but it was bad enough seeing, the fact that if or when Microsoft's purchase of Activision goes through, whether or not that would, Bobby Kotick would, get the parachute to jump out and land to safety instead of getting pushed out the fucking plane like he belongs. That was bad enough, but now the governor's getting involved to make sure that Activision is like clean before the purchase even goes through. It's just ugh.
Yeah, well, when
I hate
Microsoft does take over, I feel like there's going to be just a mass amount of firing going on and getting rid of people and really getting to the bottom of it and spending their own money most likely to get to the bottom of it and weeding out cutting out the weeds.
Yeah. What's weird about that whole acquisition is right now it's being fought, which everyone anticipated it being fought. But, like, everyone's talking about, outside of gaming, everyone's talking about, oh, well, look at how big Microsoft is. Do they really need to buy it? And it's like, yeah, Microsoft itself is big, but this is specifically Microsoft Xbox. It's a little different.
It is a little different, yeah.
It's still under the Microsoft umbrella, but Xbox is kind of its own thing with its own, CEO and everything. So, but yeah,
Sad. It's so sad.
yeah. I just, when will these women finally get, and not just women, I'm sure there's other minority groups that are, not being treated well over there.
For sure.
Like, when is this just going to end? When can we just treat people like people? I don't understand.
With a union, most likely.
Yeah. It's sad that it has to come to a union and it can't just be, oh, you and I both are human. Let's treat each other as such.
Yeah, exactly. That's all it should be, but, it can't be that simple.
No, it can't, unfortunately. Anyway, let's move on to Kingdom Hearts 4 announcement.
Who would have thought?
I certainly didn't think. So they released the trailer. It's the 20th anniversary or something of Kingdom Hearts?
It's the 20th anniversary.
And so they released a trailer announcing a spin-off mobile game, the last expansion for their current mobile game, and then the Kingdom Hearts 4 trailer. So I don't know how... Yeah, I don't know how in the weeds you are with the Kingdom Hearts lore.
I played 1 and beat 1. And that's as far as that goes. I own all 3 that are out
Yeah.
as far as the full title releases, but that's it.
Yeah. So there's a couple people I follow. I follow them for other reasons, but they're massive Kingdom Hearts fans, so I hear about Kingdom Hearts. So basically in Kingdom Hearts 3, there's a video game that Rex in the Toy Story world is playing. And it's called Verum Rex. And in it, it's the world of Quadratum. Which is name dropped in the trailer because, guess what? That's where Sora is now. Because at the end of 3, Sora disappears because he was using his power of awakening too much, which caused him to, for all intents and purposes, die. So Quadratum is essentially the afterworld that he appeared in. And then in the trailer, he meets up with a woman, which is from the mobile game they just announced the end for, which is Kingdom Hearts Union Cross. And her name is Strelitzia. I believe she's from Union Cross. I guess I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure she's from Union
There's
Cross.
very little that I do know of that franchise.
But anyway, and she's explaining to him where they are and everything. But she's from the same world he is, so she's also, for all intents and purposes, dead. One of the clips that they showed like a kind of like a montage thing of the different areas of the game. And in one of them, there was a redwood forest. And in that redwood forest, someone noticed in the very corner of the screen what looks to be an ATST foot, which is the chicken walkers from Star Wars. For most people that aren't in the weeds with Star Wars either, I guess I should say. And like I said, they announced a mobile game with it too, but again, that's the in the weeds, stuff of Kingdom Hearts. The real reason we're talking about this is because Kingdom Hearts 4 was on an Nvidia leak that, and it was one of the games pointed to saying, that's never going to happen. And now it's happened.
Yeah,
so now
I really didn't think this one was going to happen.
So now we should look into the Nvidia leak. So the Nvidia leak happened in September, and it was a data mine of their GeForce streaming service, which is basically kind of like their version, Nvidia's version of Game Pass, essentially. I haven't looked too much into it. I do have Nvidia, and I have a GeForce graphics card or whatever, but I haven't looked into their streaming service. But it was the data mine revealed a list of upcoming games for the service. I couldn't find the exact quote, but essentially Nvidia said, yeah, the list is real, but we're just trying to test some things out, so the games on it are speculative. So I'm going to read off the list of games that were on the list that have since been confirmed or have a lot of smoke to them. And then I'm going to list the games that are still unconfirmed but were on the GeForce leak. So, at the time that the games were listed, God of War PC was not announced, and it has since been announced and come out. GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas remasters. And that's another one where people are like, yeah, they're not going to do that.
And they did it.
They did it, and it's out. Final Fantasy VII Remake for PC.
That hasn't happened, has it?
I don't think it's happened, but they looking it up. I looked each game up individually, and they've mentioned it at least.
Oh, okay.
So I don't think it's happened yet, but they've talked about it. I think I did see like a preview, like someone talking about like rating a preview that they got for the PC version. Crisis 4. That's been announced. That's crazy.
That is crazy.
When was the last Crisis?
Crisis 3 and 360 era, right? Like, Jesus.
Yeah.
Mid 360 era?
Yeah. And then Kingdom Hearts 4, like we mentioned. And then BioShock 2022. Still haven't heard anything of it, but there is a lot of insiders, like gaming insiders, talking about what they've heard of the game.
I think that game is for sure real, but I don't know if it'll be this year.
Yeah. But if it's real, that just confirms the games on the list. There were tentative dates on there. There weren't they were basically launch windows rather than launch times on the list. So, and that's those are the games that are confirmed or have a lot of smoke. The games that are unconfirmed that were on the list so far: Injustice 3, Gods Will Fall. That would be a big one. Returnal for PC. Demon Souls for PC. Halo 5 Guardians for PC. Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled for PC. And Bayonetta 3 on PC.
Bayonetta 3's not even out on Nintendo yet.
Yeah. No, I saw that one. That one, and then Crash Team Racing. Activision's not going to allow that. They're too busy having their teams work on Call of Duty.
Unfortunately.
So, and then I forget what it was, but 343 mentioned that they're focused on Infinite and Master Chief Collection.
Yeah, I'd be upset if they announce Halo 5 for PC. Like, you got, like, Halo Infinite needs some work, and content. And, people are more playing the Master Chief Collection and Infinite, so focus on what people are actually got their attention on that needs help before you get working on another, a PC port.
There are other smaller games, like Human Fall Flat 2 is on the list. I just wanted to do like the big names, the big name things. But at this point, there's so many games because I read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games that were on the list that, and then have since been confirmed. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a pretty large list.
So there's definitely something to this leak. They may still have had some, speculative things on there just because, like Halo 5, for instance, I agree. Infinite needs work on the multiplayer side, and even just adding the co-op,
or Forge,
and replaying, the first 2 levels. You can't replay those at all. Like, you can kind of replay the rest of the levels. It's basically you're going through the level, but just with very little enemies because you already wiped them out. But the first 2 levels you can't go back to at all. So if you missed any collectibles there, which is what I did, you're just shit out of luck. But the fact is, Microsoft is trying to make it so you can play their games on either platform, either PC or Xbox. So it makes sense for Halo 5, even though I do think they are and should be working on Infinite first and foremost. So that's not out of the realm, of speculation. Returnal is a weird one because and I guess the Demon Souls remake for that matter too, because they came out so recently and PlayStation typically waits. But PlayStation has been putting stuff on PC, so those aren't out of the realm of possibility. I can't... The Crash Team Racing and the Bayonetta 3, those are like out of nowhere. But I thought Kingdom Hearts 4 was out of nowhere too, and Crisis 4. I thought those two were out of nowhere too. So
yeah, I agree.
I don't know. There's definitely something to it though, for sure. Just looking at the games in general, like I said, I only included the big names. There are a lot of games on that list, so we'll just have to see. I can't wait for quote E3 time. Soon we're going to be changing it to Summer Games Fest time, but we might be doing some cool things during that time as supplemental content on YouTube and so forth. But you're just going to have to pay attention to that later. Alright. Oh, there we go. You ever just lose your mouse cursor and it just pisses you off?
Yes.
I hate that. Alright. Zelda. The Next Generation. So, Digital Foundry and Games Radar were the first to kind of cover this. They were analyzing the trailer for Breath of the Wild 2, like some of the stuff they've shown off. And they think that maybe this could be a new console. So what they were pointing out is the volumetric clouds. Now, this is a lot of technical mumbo-jumbo that I could only guess at. But they were saying the volumetric clouds would be difficult, if not impossible, for the Switch to handle, the current Switch hardware to handle. And then the camera cuts with the anti-aliasing that happen in these trailers. That's difficult even for the Series X. The Series X struggles with that, let alone the Switch. And then another thing they point out is, with one exception, Nintendo doesn't put out trailers that look better than the final product. But that one exception is the original Breath of the Wild with the distance rendering. I'm drawing a blank on what that's called.
No, I think you got that right. Draw distance rendering.
Draw distance, yeah, that's what I was talking about. I knew it was rendering and distance. I just couldn't think of the technical term of it. So I looked it up, and it's weird because the Switch is a hybrid kind of console. I consider it more a home console. I keep it docked more than I actually play handheld. But typically home consoles, they've never gone beyond 6 years. So it was 85, 90, 96, 01, 06, then it was 12 and 17. All their home consoles, that's the lifespan that they had. Now, for their mobile games, they had a little bit more life. Both the DS and the Game Boy families lasted about 15 years. But there were multiple iterations over those 15 years. So it's also one of those things. Would you consider the Game Boy and the Game Boy Advance like the same, console, or an iteration of the same console,
I would compare the Game Boy and the Game Boy Advance to what I believe that the new Switch will be. Because you can put the Game Boy games in the Game Boy Advance, as goofy as it'll look, sticking way past the top.
It looks so dumb.
Oh, I did
but
it
I
for
love
all my
the Game Boy
Pokemon
Advance.
games. Yeah, Game Boy Advance was great. And then, hopefully it won't be like that where your new Switch games or whatever are sticking way past what the console is. But I doubt it. But I think it'll be a lot like that. It'll be like a 1.5 iteration, sort of.
Yeah.
Not an OLED, because I think the OLED's like a 1.1 iteration.
Yeah. Yeah, man, the Game Boy Advance and the Nintendo Switch are the two consoles I bought day one, and I just loved that design where it's kind of like it's a weird oval with like pieces cut out. I just love how the way it felt and the way it looked. It is such a cool console. But yeah, when you put in an old Game Boy game, it just looked dumb as hell. Yeah, it's weird for me because it is a hybrid, so we really don't know what they're going to do. If they're going to treat it more like they treated their mobile or whether they treat it more like a home. As far as like, a new iteration, I'm sure they have one in mind because you look, the original Switch came out in 2017. The Switch Lite came out in 2020, and then the Switch OLED came out in 2022. So,
well, that like,
or was it 20?
Well,
was it into 21? I don't remember.
I want to say it was the end of 20. Oh, yeah, it's recent. It's for sure recent. I think almost it was like August or September maybe for the OLED, the SWOLED, the Switch OLED. Yeah, but I honestly think that like when they announced the Switch like 3-4 months prior to the release, and everybody's like, yeah, this will get pushed back. There's no way. And then they fucking dropped it, man. Like Nintendo is so good at keeping hush hush. We don't know jack shit about Zelda. Like, we don't, other than what little trailers they've showed off, no actual gameplay of anything other than like what they really want us to see. Like, we don't know much about it. So, and they're the same with like I said, with the Switch, and I think they're going to be the same with this new Switch. And people have been speculating this Switch for so long, and I think it really would have came out if it wasn't for the pandemic. Well, this Switch would probably already have been out.
Yeah.
And
what pisses me...
Go ahead.
Go. What really pisses me off is the fact that they still haven't even given us a name for the game, because they keep saying, oh, well, we can't because it's spoiler. Well, if it's a spoiler, it's going to be a spoiler no matter what.
Yeah. Well, unless the title of the new Zelda is got something to do with what the new Switch will be. And they've done that with a lot of their games, like with the Wii or even the Wii U games, like Mario, like the Wii U was like in certain games titles. It could be something like that.
Yeah. Mario 64.
Yeah,
Donkey Kong 64.
Zelda Breath of the Switch 2.
Oh. I guess, yeah, if it's connected, but still, that's... it's annoying, for sure.
For sure.
I just... I don't know that they're going to do... anything that's more advanced than like the Series X. Like they were talking about, the camera cuts with anti-aliasing is difficult for the Series X. I doubt that's actually going to be in the game if that's the case, because I doubt that they're going to go all in on like the tech side, because they've never really done that.
Mm-hmm.
And the few times they have attempted to do that, it's bit them in the butt. See the Nintendo PlayStation.
Yeah.
So I don't know that they're going to go all in on tech. So I doubt that stuff's going to be in there. The volumetric clouds, it sounds like, is fairly reasonable to do nowadays. So maybe they do something that can handle that, but I don't see them doing the cuts with anti-aliasing. Simply because I don't think they're going to go that far. I don't know that they're going to go 4K because there's been all these talks about 4K, switches. I doubt they're going to go 4K. They might go with a higher processor so games don't lag. I could see them doing something like that because even with their own games, like you look at Kirby kind of hit it pretty well. Pokemon Legends Arceus did not hide it well. And it could just be art style that helps hide it. But things that have a long draw distance, the things at the very edge just look like paper puppets that are just walking around at like 2 frames a second. Like, it's bad. They need to do something about that. When it storms in Breath of the Wild, like the moment it starts raining, your game goes and just starts chugging along.
Yep.
They definitely, their own developers, let alone, third-party developers, haven't been able to make their games work perfectly on the hardware. So I could see them doing something with the processor so that games run better, but I don't know that they're going to do anything.
I think options is always for the better. Like if you have a new, let's just call it a Switch Plus or something, but like you got the newer games on the Switch Plus that allow the developers to make it to where like, hey, you can make this variation of your game a better version on our Switch Plus or a worse version on the older Switch, or you can choose to just not make your game where it works on the old Switch and it just works on the new Switch. Giving the developers the options is the better idea. Now, the fact that there's just so many regular Switches out there in the wild, most likely they're just gonna like make this for across the board for both. But I think we'll slowly start whenever this Switch Plus comes out or whatever the hell you want, Switch 2 comes out. I honestly think that we'll slowly start seeing like games just being like, hey, just on the new Switch, only on the newer Switch. But like in the start, it'll be like everything, like the new Breath of the Wild 2 works on old Switch, works on new Switch. It's gonna just like the Wii U and the Switch. Breath of the Wild worked on both. So I think let's just slowly start seeing, just like PS4 to PS5, you're seeing games work on both, and then slowly over time you'll start seeing just these games on PS5.
Yeah. I'm hoping that's what ends up happening, but it's so hard to tell with Nintendo because they just do
whatever the fuck they want to do.
Yeah, they're just out here, vibing to their own rhythm,
Their rhythm right now is making money, so, and like them releasing a new Switch is only going to make them more money. Like, as long as they market it right to where like, hey, everything on your old console will work on this console, everything's ported over. Only thing that this thing does is introduce stronger and better games in the future and the potential of better games. And then I think that's all the marketing you need, really. So, like, for the people that are, like, wanting to Switch, be like, I'm just going to... And you could also drop the price of the original Switch, because it's still $300, I think. So you drop it to, like, $250, $200, that's a fucking deal for a Switch. And then you sell this new Switch for, like, $300, $400, on par with, I know, like, the PS4 or PS5 and the Series S. But that being said, it'd still be portable. So that's something that the other consoles don't have. So they can sell at those prices. And there is a market out there that wants a stronger Switch. There's a diehard market that just wants whatever Switch or whatever Nintendo puts out. Like, you put out a $600 Switch, that's kind of crazy. Maybe not very many people would do it, but there's people that are going to go out there and buy it anyways, regardless.
Yeah. I don't know about the OLED, but I know the regular Switch, when it's in portable mode, it's not 1080. I believe 720. It's 720.
Yeah.
So I could see them upping that, where in portable mode it's 1080.
I'd like that. I'd like to be able to play portable 1080 60 frames, and I don't think that's asking for too much. And also, you have the new the Steam Deck that's starting to. It has its problems, but there is competition out there now. So, you have Steam Deck being able to play games like Destiny and, Halo on your Steam Deck. that's good competition, and you can't play Halo on your Switch. So if you're going to start having portable games that are high-end, Nintendo needs to put that into consideration. I know they don't really need to, but you're going to slowly lose some of your market if you don't.
Yeah, they should also fix their online.
Yeah.
But that's a whole other
it's a whole different thing.
Yeah. I thought of a funny analogy after I mentioned, they're vibing to their own rhythm. And that analogy is Xbox and PlayStation are in the club, kind of grinding, and Nintendo's out there doing the Spider-Man 3 dance just outside the club. Now I want someone to edit it with, with that visual. Do it, audience. And then tweet us at the XofPlays Twitter account. Anyway, if you liked or even if you didn't like this podcast, make sure to do all of the things like hitting subscribe and the bell and, liking the video too on youtube.com/the XofPlays. Or giving it a high rating on whatever podcast service you use so you can find like-minded people. I brought it up before, but on patreon.com/thebriefingroom, you can financially support the show and get cool rewards as well. That's all from us. Take care.
Take care. Do all the things he said.